speak on this and some other issues as well. Jamie Jenkins, social commentator and independent statistician. Jamie, afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Ian.
You've obviously analysed lots of data. You know what governments do, what they say. They're not always the same thing. That's the first point, right?
No, that is the first point. I think where we are here, Ian, is the Rishi Sunak has made his kind of 5 pledges to the country for him to be assessed on before the next election. And one of them was stopping the vote. So obviously that's why he's trying to do this. I think you're right. I don't think we're going to pull out of the ECHR. I think George Osborne has explained on the weekend that, you know, the Good Friday Agreement, there's a lot of other things intertwined with the kind of the ECHR as well. So that's going to be difficult. And where Sunak is at the moment, Ian, you've got some parts of the Tory backbenchers, as I say, they want to go a bit more hardline to kind of stop the votes, come and probably pull out. But then you've got some parts of the Tory party as well who actually want more legal, safe routes. So I think your question is, do I trust the government to sort out the vote crisis? I don't think they will, but I would probably trust them more than Keir Starmer. So
yeah,
we're in a bit of a quandary here.
And already we're getting comments on that because, of course, if time does run out, not just parliamentary time, but as in this term or the next, but Rishi Sunak's time in office, then the smart money at the moment, Jamie says that it will be a Labour government coming in next. And I don't imagine for one second they're going to treat this with anywhere near the same level of seriousness. This won't be on the top of Keir Starmer's agenda.
Well, and if his manifesto kind of pledges when we go into the election doesn't put it at the top and he wins the next election, then he'd have a mandate to say, well, look, I'm not going to solve this problem because I've been voted in without being put in at the top thing. You know, the key issue here, Ian, is will a third country like Rwanda take 60,000 migrants? They're not going to take 60,000 migrants. I think the government's pinning their hopes on the fact that, say, day one after this is all passed, they can ship out 300 people to Rwanda quite quickly.
Correct.
Then on day 2, 3, 4, 5, people will stop coming. That's not going to happen, I think. And the optics around this is they're just trying to kind of, people are getting fed up with all the hotels being full and landlords being offered money for these migrants. That's the reason he's trying to act. It's more the optics of what's going on with the cost of all of this, rather than, I think, as you say, Rishi Sunak really believing he wants to do it.
And I think you've hit the nail on the head with that word optics as well, Jamie, because what he needs are images, footage of planes taking off. And if he can have that, then that might be enough to satisfy some people that this man is on top of it. He only needs half a dozen planes to take off. It won't have 60,000 people in them, that's for sure. Spot on. Yes, it's all about the optics on all parts of this story. Another story around at the moment, of course, is the government's anti-social bill. They want to stop all manner of things going on, from graffiti to laughing gas, but also buried within this as well, landlords will be able to evict tenants who are disruptive to neighbours, causing damage or fall behind on their rent within 2 weeks. I mean, previously we've heard these stories, Jamie, many, many times. It can take for months. I know somebody very close to me who spent the best part of a year trying to evict a problem tenant because they didn't want to go. So I think, whilst I recognise there are bad landlords out there as well, when you're in a position where you've got a bad tenant, there can be nothing worse than being told that legally there's nothing you can do about it.
No, this is a difficult one because, nobody wants to live in a neighbourhood where you've got kind of rowdy neighbours. And I think part of this legislation that they're talking about as well is to try and get a better handle on some of these short-term lets, you know, people who put their accommodations on Airbnb as well, where you may let them out for kind of parties and stuff on weekends, and nobody wants to live there. I think that the main thing here is, as you pointed out, some of these things can take months, sometimes years to sort out, even though the current legislation says it should be sorted within 4 weeks. So it's cutting it from 4 weeks to 2 weeks sounds like a good soundbite for the government to say, look, we're cracking down on this. But the current way of things are working doesn't really kind of enact. So I think it's in the right direction to be a bit tougher on this, but the proof's in the pudding, isn't it? Is it going to happen? I get very much doubt, or again, a bit like the small boats.
Indeed, yes. Well, there is one man that's got a smile on his face today, and that's Humza Yousaf. He's the new SNP leader, soon to be crowned First Minister of Scotland, of course. That's a little process that they go through over today and tomorrow, I think it is. And then, of course, he has the big title. Now, he's not, of course, the President of the United States. He's not the king, but it's an important job right now, and he thinks he can carry on the good work, his words, of Nicola Sturgeon, and keep up that whole issue of trying to get Scotland the heck out of Dodge when it comes to UK unity.
Yeah, he hasn't got the profile of what you had with Nicola Sturgeon, who kind of was riding on the crest of the popularity that Alex Salmond had as well, and her being kind of his right-hand lady at the time. So I think he's going to have a difficulty in terms of his kind of popularity across the wider thing. We do know that the support for independence has been in decline. That's going to be one of the issues he's going to have to tackle. But he inherits, is exactly the same you've got in Wales, you've got in England, you've got in Northern Ireland and Scotland. You've got the back end of the COVID pandemic, the cost of living crisis. There's a lot of things other than independence that he's going to inherit. And, a lot of things have devolved. Health's devolved. He was the health minister. He's got those record waiting lists to sort out in the health system. He got record drug deaths, compared to the rest of Europe. So he's got a big inbox to sort out for domestic matters, regardless of just trying to sort out independence.
Makes you wonder how you get the job, doesn't it, when that's what's on your CV at the moment?
Well, I think generally in politics, isn't it? It's normally the best of a bad bunch. I think Mark Drakeford in Wales will be leaving in the next year or so, and there's not going to be a huge army of people with great CVs to come and replace him, I don't think.
I wouldn't have thought so. Jamie, as ever, thank you. Jamie Jenkins is a political social commentator and independent statistician. I thought the last points there he reminded us of was that Humza Yousaf's record in office has really not been a good one, which makes you wonder why members of the SNP thought this was the man for the job. You can't make this kind of stuff up.